Okay. Okay, sorry. Let's start the AMA.
Okay, can I get screen sharing, please?
Yes.抱歉，因为今天的网络问题，所以这边有一点延迟。那么在今天的那么在今天的直播开始之前，我还是简单的给大家先介绍一下这个专栏，然后在我们开始今天正式的一个主题。首先，在这里简单的介绍一下这个专栏。Substrate Saturday 是 OneBlock 旗下的一档线上 AMA 直播专栏。那 OneBlock 呢是专注于推广区块链技术和 Substrate 技术的开发者社区，是 Parity 在亚洲唯一的运营合作伙伴。那咱们的这个专栏主要以邀请波卡及其生态项目和工程师一起探讨 Substrate 相关内容为主，是一档定位偏技术和深度内容分析的栏目。那么接下来话不多说，我们有请我们今天的主持人 Parity 的工程师
Maggie。Hello. Hi, welcome everyone to the latest episode of Substrate Saturday. Today we have a special guest with us, Alberto from Tanssi network. Alberto is the founder of PaperMoon and also the developer relation lead contributor to Moonbeam and advisor of Tanssi network. And Tanssi network is an Appchain infrastructure protocol. It's to simplify and enhance the Appchain development. And the parachains that are connected to the Tanssi network transformed from the parachain to their container chains, like with gaining access to a range of their tools and resources. So we're thrilled to have Alberto here today to share his insight into the Tanssi network and how it works and how it helps our Appchain developers. So we are now handing the microphone over to Alberto. Hi, Alberto.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the presentation and the introduction. So can you see my screen right now? Oh, okay. I do see that you can see my screen. Cool. Yeah, thanks for the intro. As you mentioned, I am Alberto. I'm a lead contributor to DevRel Moonbeam, but I also am an advisor to Tanssi. And yeah, so here today, I am here Saturday to sort of show you around Tanssi, and you can learn a bit more from the technical side as well. So yeah, let's get started first with a few slides, and then we'll go into sort of the technical nitty-gritty of like onboarding an app chain, why is Tanssi better than other solutions, and so on. So yeah, let's start. I guess the thing about Tanssi is app chain development made easy, and it is important to understand why Tanssi, right, and why app chains. So since blockchain was created, back in 2009, a lot of things have evolved, right? I mean, first we had Ethereum, which was the first blockchain that provided a shared execution environment in which everyone shared the same kind of like computer, which is the EVM, to create applications, right, via smart contracts. And then the problem is that everyone is competing for the same resources, right? And so we had chains like Polkadot, which created a new sort of way of thinking in which, their app chains that create are very good doing something in particular, right? And then we also see, I've seen the growth of L2s on Ethereum, which they're kind of two separate brands. There's the brand which they're main L2s and everyone deploys to them, or you can use like the OP stack to create your own L2 and then work on top of Ethereum security, right? And so this demand for what it's called application-specific blockchains or app chains has grown considerably in the last, 2 or 3 years. The main reason being that projects want customization and cost control of the app chains, right? When you have your own app chain, you can control many, many things. You can have your token be the utility token and governance token, of the blockchain. And this is something that we see right now, for example, in ecosystems like Polkadot, where you can see all these parachains right now live, in which each is very custom, has its own governance, has its own utility and tokenomics. And that is good because each blockchain can adapt to its own specific use case, right? And you know, I think this is just going to keep growing, right? Because as projects grow in demand of use, they cannot share a computer, right? They need their own computer to be able to compute, right? Think, you know, Derek Yu, the founder of Moonbeam, did a really great analogy in which back in the day, when computers were not mainstream, you would have to go to the library of the university and share the computer between multiple people. So you had like 1 hour allocated to use a computer, but as you know, demand for computers grew, people started having their own personal computer, right? And nowadays, almost everyone has a laptop or a computer to access to, right? So why app chains? And I mentioned this a little bit before, but let's go into a bit more detail, right? So we've seen over 120 app chains across Avalanche, Polkadot, and Cosmos, and probably today even a bit more. And I think the main benefits of app chains right now, it's like I said before, you can have a bit more control, granular control over, you know, resources, implementations. You have, you know, your own block space that you don't share with anyone. You can have your own governance system that it's embedded into the utility of the token itself, and so on. You can also provide better user experience, right? Because you can adapt, instead of having to adapt everything to a shared environment, you can adapt the full user experience to your app chain implementation, right? For example, you can, you know, have any token as a gas, you can integrate native wallets, you can do built-in bridging, you can create an embedded experience instead of having to adapt different solutions from ecosystems and things like that. But I think the key benefit here is the decentralization part and token utility, right? For example, when a project is deployed to, you know, let's say Arbitrum or other any blockchain that uses an ecosystem governance, basically they're tied to that ecosystem governance, right? So for example, the user base of 3,000, 10,000 users, whatever, it's dependent on a broader ecosystem governance, right? It's like saying that, you know, my country, it's not governed by, you know, the democracy rulers or whatever, but like a broader continental ruler, which is a bit different, right? In the app chain world, you have granular control over governance, staking, security, because everything is tied to your own blockchain that it's basically your app chain. So app chain is great, Alberto. You know, I can buy the concept of app chains, but you know, why, you know, everyone is not doing app chains, right? We still see projects developing on bigger blockchains. And the main reason is that it is challenging. It is not easy to create an app chain, right? And so it is not a thing of like, you know, a few clicks at that. You have to know the infrastructure complexities. You have to understand, you know, the code itself. You have to do a lot of things that are not mainstream, let's say. And so let's summarize them a bit, right? Like the 1 second. All right. Yeah, so basically we can split them into different categories. Like, why is it complicated to build app chains? Well, first of all, there's a lot of infrastructure management that you need to do. You need to, like, you know, work on who's going to be the RPC providers. Are you going to have decentralized block producers? Who are going to be the wallets? I need block explorers. You need indexers. You need bridges, right? So all this is time consuming and it's resource consuming, right? You need specific teams to deploy an app chain. You know, part of the core founding team of Tanssi came from Moonbeam, and this is things that we learned on Moonbeam. It's not easy to deploy your own blockchain, right? It takes time, it takes resources, and that is valuable in a go-to-market strategy, basically. Also, as I mentioned before, right? I mean, there are token incentives in shared environments might not be there. For example, if I want to create my own Cosmos SDK-based app chain, I need to be able to sort of like secure my own network. And that's not easy, right? From the get-go in a proof of stake system. Moreover, if I'm, I might be securing an entire block that is not even being used, if you think about it, right? So for example, when empty blocks are being produced by the network is still paying for that. And that is very inefficient in terms of incentives. Then there's implementations, which is one of the trickiest things, right? If you want to have your own app chain, but hey, you say, hey, I need oracles, I need bridges, I need wallets, I need all these kind of things that it's especially bridges and cross-chain integrations, right? That requires a lot of expertise and a lot of like meticulous implementation. Once again, tying back to consuming time and resources when you're trying to build your own app chain. And this overall summarizes that a slow time to market, basically, right? So we know that blockchain world moves really fast, and it's really important to be able to go to market in a quick way so that developers are enticed to do app chains instead of just going to blockchains like Moonbeam, Ethereum, and so on to deploy. And like I said, it all has pros and cons. I'm not saying like the app chains are going to kill layer ones like Moonbeam, Avalanche, Ethereum, and so on, because there's always trade-offs. So how does Tanssi tackles all these problems that I mentioned before, right? So Tanssi, it's a perfect blend of app chain functionality and ease of deployment like a smart contract, right? And when you deploy an app chain through Tanssi, you're gonna have things given to you that it's going to help you not worry about the problems that I mentioned before, right? You're going to have decentralized block production as a service. You're going to have incentivized data retrievability as a service. You're going to access a lot of services because Tanssi and your app chain is going to be part of the broader Polkadot ecosystem that is natively interoperable. You're going to be able to access things like bridges, like automation, like a broader EVM ecosystem like Moonbeam to access liquidity and things like that, right? And so you're going to be able to have a perfect blend of functionality, but also ease of deployment. And so, Tanssi has experienced a huge growth in the last 5 months. It's been really great to see how people, have grown in interest in terms of Tanssi. I'm not going to go through the entire sort of like ecosystem, but you can see it's from indexers to RPC providers, oracles, block explorers, wallets, cross-chain integrations. And then we have on the container chain side, cross-chain DeFi gaming, dev tools. So a lot of sort of like different parties have expressed interest in working with Tanssi just because it makes it so much easier to create our own app chain. And app chains, when app chains are onboarded into Tanssi, we refer to them as container chains because it's sort of this idea of Kubernetes where you have like, containers that are controlled by Kubernetes and so on, like an orchestrator. So yeah, we've seen that Tanssi testnet was launched probably a month ago, a little bit over a month ago. And we've seen 16 teams have deployed on testnet, 100 plus registrations. Like right now, we are not increasing the testnet teams just because of capacity. And so basically, but we've seen over like arching demand of like 100 plus registrations. We have 2 container chains templates in production, meaning that right now, a developer can deploy a blockchain based on a template that is very useful in a matter of hours, which is crazy. There are a lot of communities. If you're into community, you can check the website that I'll be sharing at the end of the presentation and learn more. And we also launched a Pioneers program, which is basically a program to help kickstart Tanssi when it's launched on mainnet. And we have over like 40 projects registered. So basically, this is how Tanssi tackles the go-to-market strategies, right? And this is the main problem or pain point that I've mentioned before. We basically, Tanssi takes care of the heavy infra lift, as I mentioned before, because basically you don't need to worry about block production, you don't need to worry about integrations, built-in bridging, etc. Right? You can focus on what really matters, which is your business logic, your user experience, and basically, well, that. Tanssi tackles the weak and efficient securities because it leverages Polkadot share security architecture, right? So from the get-go, you're going to access $1 billion worth proof of stake secured system, right? That is resilient. And you're going to also, when Polkadot moves to an on-demand block space model, that really benefits Tanssi container chains because you're going to only pay for the security when you need it, right? It's not what I mentioned before that you're going to be, imagine you're producing empty blocks, those blocks are still being secured even though they don't really need to. So once again, this really, really helps on the budgeting and resources efficiencies, boosts budget and resource efficiency, basically. And overall, the main goal is to, increase the time to market, which is a fully automated process, complete set of management tools. And, there's still a lot of work to do in here, but, Tanssi is moving in the right direction and it has its aim to fully automate everything, have a dashboard for the AppChain developers that it's going to help them do runtime upgrades, right? Like that it's upgrades to your blockchain, and then do integrations and things like that. So Tanssi in action. I think this is the interesting part of the presentation, to be honest. We're going to show you, I'm going to go to the Tanssi dApp and I'm going to onboard a new app chain, right? And you're going to see it takes me probably 5 minutes, maybe 10, because I'm going to do it, quick. Slow. But yeah, this is basically the dApp. You can see that it's apps.tanssi.network/dancebox because this is the testnet. The testnet is called dancebox. And you can see here that, let's get to it so you can see how easy it is, all right? So hopefully you can see the slides of the dancebox testnet dApp. As you can see here, I have a wallet connected. In this case, I'm using Talisman, but this is a Polkadot-based wallet. You can use sub-wallet, Polkadot.js extension, etc. I already have Alice, Alice, my account. And then when you log into the dApp, it's as easy as create app chain. And then you're going to be taken through a very specific flow that, the app is going to help you sort of move through it. So you can see here that first, we're going to do two things. We're going to do actions on a relay chain, let's say Polkadot, but Tanssi testnet is deployed to the Moonbeam testnet. And so we can see here that it's requesting us to have at least 100 dance tokens and 110 relay chain tokens. And we have plenty of balance. The app is telling me here that we have plenty. And if you want to learn how to claim tokens, you can see this here. So I'm going to click continue. And this is the main page, right? You can see here that this is very easy, basically. I can say, hey, I want to deploy an EVM template. I want to deploy a Substrate template, or I want to deploy my own custom. Like if you're a developer, a Substrate developer, and you know what you're doing in terms of Substrate and everything, you can just say, hey, I just want to deploy my own version of the blockchain. And you can just put the spec file here and everything else will be taken care of. There's a caveat though. If you're going to do this, you need to check our documentation site because you need to make sure that you do some Tanssi specific configurations, okay? The templates have those configurations already embedded. The custom, you need to do it yourself. So for this one, I'm going to do EVM. I need to specify an EVM chain ID. So this is the Ethereum chain ID, for example. In this case, I just put a random number. Token decimals have to be 18. Actually, this is something that we're fixing soon. When you are choosing an EVM template, tokens have to be 18 because all the Ethereum-based wallets like MetaMask, expect 18 to be the decimal numbers. I am going to deploy my token being AT, which is Alberto token. Note that this will be the native app chain token, right? This is not like an ERC20 deployed on top of Moonbeam. This is the utility token of the network in which in the future you're going to be able to do, governance and things like that. Because this is testnet, we do require you to specify a pseudo address. If you don't know what pseudo address is, it's basically an address that has superpowers, basically, okay? For sure, this is in mainnet, this is not ideal because if this address gets compromised, it means, bad things. But for testnet, we do require pseudo because it makes easier the management part. On production, what's going to happen is that the management part can be done through governance, right? So the dashboard like this one is going to help you sort of create these governance proposals. You can actually put some Genesis smart contracts, meaning that if you want an ERC20 to be deployed with the deployment of your app chain, you can do it basically here, right? You can just provide the bytecode and put the address that you want this contract to be in. And then some advanced features that, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through it, but this is related to sort of like dynamic fees on your network and so on. So I am going to go ahead and click continue. You can see here I have everything already filled in. I'm going to have a balance of 100,000 tokens in my address, basically. Okay. I'm going to click continue. So the next step is to reserve the app chain ID. This is something that is going to happen on the relay chain, on the Moonbase Alpha relay chain that we call AlphaNet. As you can see here, I have talisman, so I need to unlock it. Hopefully you can see the pop-in, and you can see here, that we have a transaction to sign. I am going to approve this, and then this is you can see the loading bar here at the top. It's taking some time. It's going to take around 6 seconds because my app chain ID needs to be reserved. So we're waiting for the app chain ID to be registered. I think it should be 3053, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, 3055. Cool. So you can see here that I have 3055. There's a pop-up. You can even view the transaction in the Explorer, but I'm not going to click on this. Okay, next step. Okay, so some files are going to be generated, right? I just need to click generate so that, there's a manual input for the backend to create the files. But you can see that this is actually the tricky part, right? We're abstracting all the complexity of generating these files, with you even knowing what's happening, right? So, okay, my files have been generated. This actually means that my blockchain has been generated from a code perspective, okay? And then the last step is basically just to register the app chain on the relay chain and register the app chain in Tanssi. It's a 2-step process, right? So I'm going to click on the relay chain first. I have my talisman pop-up. Let me zoom in. And then I'm going to approve. And once again, this is going to take roughly 6 seconds or so. Okay, cool. We can see that our app chain was registered in the relay chain, and then now we're going to register in Tanssi. Remember that the relay chain and the concept of Polkadot, it's what provides security to the chain, right? So that's why it's important in this specific scenario, the relay chain, because your app chain is going to produce blocks thanks to Tanssi, right? Tanssi is going to be the orchestrator of certain services, but Tanssi doesn't provide security. It just provides what it's called change liveness, basically that your chain produces blocks in a decentralized way. But then the relay chain is the one that says that block is not malicious. And that is why you have to do 2 things. You have to do it on the relay chain and you have to do it in Tanssi as well. So Tanssi takes, sorry, I didn't mention that I signed the transaction on Tanssi now. And the Tanssi registration takes a bit longer, but yeah, there you go. We already did it. So you can see that I already registered my app chain on the relay chain. I already registered it on Tanssi. And I'm going to click continue. And basically the process, it's successful. That's it. I mean, it's as easy as that. There's no mimics, nothing that it's being hidden underneath. Everything I just did, created my own app chain on Tanssi. Right now, you need to wait for validation or verification because this is a testnet. And there's a limited amount of resources that the testnet has. But once the process moves to a fully decentralized system in mainnet with its tokenomics and everything, this is going to be completely decentralized and trustless, right? I mean, Tanssi is going to have a pool of block producers, and there's going to be a token mechanism in which once you register the process and everything, this is going to take a matter of like hours, and that's it. It's going to be completely live. Okay. So right now, this doesn't show a lot, right? This doesn't show, for example, any explorers, if the chain is live and so on, because the chain right now is not live. It's registered, but it's not live. It's not producing blocks. But once your chain is producing blocks, if you come back here, you will see actually, live, some explorers showing, some numbers being shown here, and then the infra endpoints and so on. Yeah, so hopefully the process is clear. Remember that I told you before that one of the caveats, one of the problems that not everyone was doing app chains was because the process was hard, right? And you can see with this is an extremely easy process to follow. Like a lot of people can follow. You don't have to be a developer to follow this, right? This means that you're going to be able to create your own app chain without really being a blockchain developer. You can be a smart contract developer and create your own container chain in a matter of a few clicks, which is mind-blowing if you think about it. So let me show you a little bit. So here you can see, this is the relay chain, by the way. You can see that there were some events, like Alice, for example, registered parachain ID 3055, and then she actually reserved ID 3055. These are the two transactions we did on the relay chain. And in here, you can see this is Tanssi, this is Dancebox. You can see that, there was another transaction in which Alice, reserved some tokens to be able to register a container chain in Tanssi, right? So basically this confirms that, we did the things that we did in the dApp were not like mimic. They're actually happening on the blockchain, as you can see here. And yeah, so that means that we'll just have to, in the testnet, we have to wait until sort of the internal team discusses a strategy to onboard your container chain and so on, because this is an incentivized testnet. So cool. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to sort of like take you to a container chain that it's already live in our testnet and it's deployed, and I'm going to show you what you can do with it, right? So but before I do that, I did create this dashboard this week just to show you a bit of like, let me refresh it, by the way. I did create this dashboard this week just to show you like how many tests, like container chains, the Tanssi testnet called Dancebox has, right? So you can see here, this is Dancebox, like the testnet itself, the Tanssi testnet itself. But all of these numbers that you see here are different container chains that are producing blocks right now from different teams that onboarded them on the Tanssi testnet Dancebox, right? And you can see here, each of them has, for example, this one has 2 block producers, Tanssi has 3. And you can see here the token names and decimals. You can see if they decided to do an EVM template or not, for example. And even you can click here if you want to check the Substrate-based Explorer and the EVM-based Explorer. There's a lot of information happening here in this dashboard, right? So for example, the one that we're going to build on top of as a demo to show you the capabilities of a container chain is this one, 3001. Okay, this is a public container chain that it's EVM, so you can deploy smart contracts. The token symbol, it's units. It has 18 decimals. There are 2 block producers. And right now, there's almost 500,000 blocks produced in this container chain. I think it was the first or second container chain that was onboarded into Tanssi. Remember that container chains is basically app chains in the Tanssi context. So I can click on the EVM Explorer, and you can see the latest block produced on a super basic EVM Explorer, and you can see here some of the things that have happened in the recent times. So cool. This is the one that I was just showing you. This is the EVM template one that you can see here, and yeah, basically I have MetaMask connected into that container chain, as you can see. So basically, there's an endpoint for this network, and this endpoint that probably is too small for you right now, but this endpoint you can actually add. If I go to MetaMask and I go to settings, I go to networks, and you can see here that you can pre-fill this endpoint here, put the chain ID, the currency, the container chain name, and the explorer, and then you can just add a new network, and MetaMask will automatically connect to that network. So now we have an app chain that is fully Ethereum compatible. MetaMask, you can use MetaMask to it. This means that you can also use a Ledger hardware wallet, and you can deploy any smart contracts that you want, as it would be another Ethereum blockchain. So just to show you the capabilities, you can see that I have Remix right here. Remix, as if you don't know, is a very common tool for smart contract developers. Especially to tinker around, right? I don't think any project uses Remix as their baseline smart contract SDK. like for example, Hard Hat or Foundry, but it's very easy to sort of start playing around with it and so on. So I have a couple of smart contracts. I'm going to start with the incrementer one. I already compiled my smart contract. This is Solidity based, right? I have Remix connected to my MetaMask. And as you can see, my MetaMask is connected to the Tanssi EVM container chain. This is a demo container chain. And I'm going to deploy the incrementer contract, right? So I'm going to basically put a contract that is going to store a number, and we can increment it with the function increment. We can increment it by 1, okay? So I'm going to deploy it. You can see MetaMask is going to pop up, and I'm going to confirm it. So think what's happening here. Like think about it, right? So I have a blockchain, an app chain deployed that is producing blocks, and I'm going to deploy a smart contract to it. But the block that is going to be produced where my smart contract will be deployed is being produced by some entity that is incentivized on a different blockchain, but it's all happening trustlessly and this in a decentralized way because of how the Tanssi architecture is, which is once again mind-blowing if you think about it. So you can see here that I have my smart contract where the number is 0, and I can increment it by 1, and you can see here that, I'll just wait a bit so we can see this example working. And you can see here that, we have some Ethereum events on my container chain where, I deployed a smart contract. This is a transaction hash, and I can go into, this is a Block Scout clone. And you can see that I can search for my transaction hash, and you can see that someone deployed a smart contract and blah, 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 okay? Good. So let's wait to see. Let me find, cool. Okay, so the transaction for incrementing the number was done. So you can see here I have the number. And yeah, I mean, this is producing blocks, right? Another cool thing you can do as an example is that you can go to like Open Zeppelin contracts. This is the contract wizard. And you can create your own ERC20 token, right? I have here a smart contract to create an ERC20 token. I'm going to name it Alberto token, and then we can just compile the contract and then once again deploy it, in which, I am going to be the owner of the Alberto tokens. And once again, this is an ERC20 token deployed on top of a container chain that it's basically creating the flow, right? So it's pretty mind-blowing if you think about it. So I have my contract that is being deployed. Just wait a bit. So you can see here that I have my contract deployed, and that, excuse me, and then, I have my ERC20 token deployed, and you can see here, this is the ERC20 token, and I can copy the token address, and I can go to MetaMask, and I can import the address to MetaMask, right? Once again, this is just like another EVM, like another Ethereum compatible blockchain. And I can send tokens, well, I don't have any address here, but I could send tokens to another address if I wanted to. And then once again, we would be able to see the contract deployed on the Explorer and everything happening. And these blocks are being produced by people on the Tanssi testnet dance box in a fully decentralized way. And your blockchain is being secured by the relay chain, which in this case would be Polkadot. The block finality will be guaranteed by Polkadot, basically. Cool. So I think I've talked enough. You can learn more about Tanssi by visiting the Tanssi.network website. You can follow us on Twitter by going at Tanssi Network. This is the Telegram, the Discord, the Tanssi documentation, and the LinkedIn as well. If you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to us on Twitter and Telegram. Check out our website, reach out through our comms, so through our social media. And yeah, I think the Tanssi team will be able to help you understand a bit more and help you onboard into your own container chain. So cool. Thank you.
Okay, cool sharing. So it seems that Tanssi has done a great job in making app chain development easier. And it looks like once you start building the Tanssi container chain, you will leverage a range of Tanssi tooling and resources such as indexer, wallet, the blockchain explorer, and now we have collected some interesting questions from the community. I think let's just dive into the Q&A session.
Well, let's do it.
Okay, the first one is, like you have shown in your presentation, like in order to start a Tanssi container chain, the first is to register the parachain on the relay chain and then register Appchain in Tanssi. So what is the difference between the Tanssi container chain and the parachain?
Yeah, that is a great question, right? So I think that the main difference is that a parachain, right, needs to do everything itself, if you think about it, right? So, and this is something like, because I'm a core contributor to Moonbeam, and I'm also, you know, an advisor to Tanssi, I clearly understand the differences in the sense that when you deploy your own parachain, you have to worry about the code, you have to worry about the you know, everything basically, right? The underlying code base, the infrastructure, who's going to produce your blocks, who's going to do it in a decentralized way, token incentivization for that. And so basically, when you are a container chain through Tanssi, a lot of the things are given to you as a service, right? So you only have to worry about implementing the contract itself, for example, right? Which is you know, really powerful if you think about it. And so I would say that is the main difference. Tanssi will provide a set of decentralized block producers. It's going to incentivize data retrievability, and it's going to provide certain integrations for you as a given, right? We're discussing, for example, with Oracle providers in a way that then you will have, for example, I want to have oracles in my container chain, and then we have like a semi-automatic way so that when you deploy your container chain, you have oracles from block zero, right? In the sense of parachains teams need to deal with this, right? They need to go to the Oracle service providers, need to sort of understand and negotiate like what is going to be the way to bring those oracles to the chain and so on. So hopefully the difference is clear. And so that's the main goal, like reduce all the frictions that naturally happen when you're deploying your own L1, right?
Okay, it seems like that Tanssi has provided the Appchain or parachain as a service from my understanding.
Yeah, but it's more than that in the sense of like, because you will have your own parachain, right? You will have your own blockchain. The thing is that the complexities of running your own blockchain will be handled by Tanssi in a decentralized way, right? Which is the beauty of it. It's like you have full control of the, for example, the tokenomics, of the deployments and everything. But the complex parts of like infra and everything are going to be handled by Tanssi, which is challenging, right? Even right now, if you grab like going away of the parachain concept, even if you go to the Cosmos SDK or like the OP stack and you deploy your own app chains there, you're going to have the same problems and complexities as if you do it via Polkadot as a parachain. The only difference being that Polkadot provides a shared security model, right? But the beauty of it with Tanssi is that a lot of the complex things are given to you, right? I mean, think about the demo that I did. I deployed a container chain in a matter of a few clicks, and in 3 hours or 4, if we would actually go to onboard this chain that I deployed, which we will not, but in a couple hours, I could have a fully operational blockchain with wallets, with in the future oracles, blah blah blah, and so on.
Okay, got that. And the second one is what's some of the audience are wondering that what is the relationship between the Tanssi and the Moonbeam?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? I think a lot of people have, this question as well. This sort of, they don't really understand. So, Tanssi was founded by 3 members from the Moonbeam team that left to found Tanssi, but it's not like they left in good terms, meaning that we feel, Moonbeam feels that Tanssi, it's necessary for the Polkadot ecosystem to grow, right? And then Moomim is really well positioned to be sort of like an aid, a helper to all the Tanssi sort of like container chains, right? For example, Moomim routed liquidity. It's a solution to bring liquidity to the Polkadot ecosystem. And then Tanssi container chains are going to need liquidity. And so there are natural synergies that are going to happen between Moomim and Tanssi. So it's not like, they're completely different projects. They're part of the same ecosystem. And for example, myself, I'm an advisor to Tanssi, and we work closely together, right? They deploy to the Moomim testnet and so on, because once again, there's a lot of synergies and a lot of ways that the projects can complement each other, right? And because Polkadot is natively interoperable, right? It just basically makes sense.
Okay, got that. And here's another interesting question. Like, can Tanssi operate both as a layer 2 EVM compatible chain and independently without relying on any relay chains?
Well, I mean, the main architecture of Tanssi is based on a relay chain, right? Even like how the block production, the decentralized block production mechanism works, needs a relay chain to be decentralized, right? Because if not, it's not decentralized. And this is the core idea, right? For example, on L2s on Ethereum, there's always a problem about centralized sequences and things like that. In the core architecture of Tanssi, we need a relay chain to provide security and also to be able to, in a decentralized way, create a decentralized block production mechanism. And so right now, it is needed basically right now to be able to deploy. And this also, it's better because if you think about it, the sort of like L2 world, it's broken in a sense that it's action, right? So we actually benefit from this architecture because finality in the container chain world takes 12 seconds, 15 seconds, even it's going to take less in the future, right? So that's pretty groundbreaking if you think about it.
Yeah, that's really cool with the finality problem.
Yeah,
and someone wants to know what's the plan and the roadmap for Tanssi, like this year in Q4.
Yeah, that's a challenge, right? So I mean, I'm not part of the core Tanssi team, as I mentioned before. I think the plan it's mainnet in Q1 2024, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to shoot myself on the foot and speak on behalf of the team. But yeah, right now we're learning a lot from the testnet for sure. That's super important. Gathering, the super valuable feedback and how we can improve the process. We're working on a lot of the integrations that are going to go live with container chains. And so, yeah, I mean, this is still an ongoing process, and hopefully the team can deliver on a Q1 2024 milestone for mainnet. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to shoot myself on the foot saying something that then, it could be used against me. So.
Okay, that's cool. And I've got no more questions here. So it seems like today's sharing is coming to a close. So at last, thank you, Alberto, for your presentation, for your understanding of Tanssi. I think it's a very cool project. And also thank you all for your watching. And we are concluding our session for today. So happy to see you next Saturday.
Yeah. Cheers. Have a nice one. Have a nice weekend.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
感谢主持人和嘉宾今天的精彩分享。相信大家对 Tanssi 有了新的认识和了解。如果大家对今天的内容感兴趣，也可以前往 Tanssi 的官网了解更多。那么在节目的最后，我也想借此机会给大家预告一个好消息：咱们2023冬季波卡黑客松将于11月1日正式开启，总奖金高达30万美元。本次黑客松线下 Gamma Day 将在香港举行，欢迎所有开发者积极参与，无论你是新手还是专家，还是展示你的技能和创造力的机会。同时深入了解波卡的核心技术，扫描屏幕的2维码，立刻参与报名。本次的黑客松。 那么在节目的最后呢，我们的 Substrate 入门课第13期已于10月20号正式开课。如果还想报名的小伙伴依然可以参与进来，扫描屏幕的2维码即可报名。另外，扫码成为课程推广员，最高可享30%的佣金奖励。活动奖品可提供 Substrate 入门和进阶课的听课码以及项目周边。那么今天的节目到这里就结束了，感谢大家的参与，我们下期再见。